As you work your way back to your seat, I just want you to give a big welcome to my friend, all the way from Kenya. No one traveled further than him. I met somebody that flew in from California. It's going to be here tonight, but I want you right now to give a great big welcome to my friend Bishop Philip Kitoto. Would you do it right now?
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Thank you. Well, my name is Philip Kitoto. I've been married for the last 30... does that sound familiar? Yes, I'm 38 years, and we have 3 children. My 2 boys, the first one and the second one are born again. They're serving Jesus. One lives in Australia, the big one, married to a beautiful lady, and they have 2 children. And my second born is Stephen, and he just got married last year, and he serves as a pastor at one of our church locations in Nairobi. And the last one is a girl called Amanda, and she is just finishing college. One of the things that we agreed with my wife is that our children will go to church whether they like it or not, so long as they are still under our roof. If they are eating our food, and if they are seeking us to give them bus fare, they have to serve the Lord together with us. It's amazing how a little bit of showing the way helps the children begin to toe the line and find their place. Now, my kids, they call me dad, but they also call me pastor wherever possible, but I try to encourage them to call me dad, because that's the relationship we have built over time. They have all discovered Christ in their own ways, without pressure, and each of them begin to serve the Lord in their own way. And I believe that as men, God expects us to lead, to love, and to actually be there as custodian of God's DNA in the family. You see, God wanted a heritage left for him. And that heritage, part of it is that spiritual DNA. And what can a man pass down that he doesn't have? A man can only pass down what he has. And most of our role modeling is from men that are ungodly, maybe. But I pray that we will take after Christ, because even our loving, it says we need to love as Christ loves the church. I was thinking and saying to myself, what gives identity? I came with Pastor Mungai, a great man. And I'm here also with the missionary Stephen Kurt. Stephen is a real Okie, and he is a resident here. What gives identity to American society today? How is that identity defining the man in America today. Would you say that that identity has departed from what God expected the man to be? And is today's man aware that they are departing from that particular identity? What gives definition to the character of an American family today? And how different is that from a godly family that God created and wanted his DNA to be propagated through? Could it be that that image, that definition, that character that the man is showing today is copied after other than what Christ intended? What is the place of Christ in giving definition to a man's leadership role? I was being interviewed by BBC, and their discussion was, are men still relevant? Do you know, it's sad for actually people to discuss us and try to find out whether we are relevant or not. But what is it that caused us to lose our relevancy? Are you relevant in your home? Allow me to be a bit honest. And there are moments I ask my wife, am I still relevant? Because I want to be sure that I am fulfilling my role the way God intended it to be fulfilled. And it's okay to ask her, because if I ask her, do I love you the way you need to be loved? And then if she says no, then I say, how do you need me to love you? Because I can't assume that I know how to love her. But then we can then talk about the definition of that kind of love that she wants me to give. Is it biblical? Is it achievable? Is it glorifying to God? So for the years we have lived, we have been an open book to each other. And the more I have been open to her and told her these things, she's become my best friend. And in that way, come to the place of trying to discover, okay, how then do we establish a role model that will be copied by our children and our children's children? Currently, I write for one of the largest papers in Kenya. It is read all over East Africa. It's read in Kenya and East Africa by over close to 10 million people. It's also online, and it's read by many other people because I've received letters from as far as Russia, as far as China. I've received letters, emails from people asking me questions. I kind of am like the Dr. Phil of Kenya. But the more I try to listen to this, I see some dysfunctions. There is something that went wrong in the family unit. Something went wrong and nobody's really interested in fixing. And we just move on. In 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 1 to 3, it gives you your specific role. It says the man, Christ is the head of the man. And the man is the head of his wife. Now, this has nothing to do with insubordination bossing over someone. Now, it's just a spiritual order. You will go to a class and you have the prefect, but the prefect and the students will all sit the same exam. Are we together? So I'll be stupid to look at it as though I am this boss and my wife, I order her around like a little baby. Because scripturally, I'm supposed to lay down my life for her as a sign of my love. In Ephesians, same thing, Ephesians 5:23, same thing. It speaks to us on our place as men. So we are supposed to be leaders, protectors, providers, priests, lovers, fathers, husbands. And one thing I have discovered is that as a man in my house, the government can easily parent for me if I don't parent my children well. They'll come and take my children away. Sadly, another man could easily come and take my wife away if I don't do my job. But God expects me to show leadership and manage my home well. And the way I manage my home gives me the license even to be a bishop, to be a pastor. One thing I told my wife, the day I will fail in my responsibility as a man, I will resign. Until I get it right, I cannot perform those duties until I get my place right. And that has been how we have worked with her. And I believe there needs to be some honest dialogue and conversation on how we regain and take back our spaces. How do we deal with dysfunctions? It is said that a dysfunction is a responsibility or a part played or not played that produces conflict. So, as a man, when you don't play your part, it produces conflict. When you play your part wrongly, it produces conflict. Then that's a dysfunction. A constant disharmony and or regular confusion that comes when we move out of or don't play our part. Most of you who work with metals or engines, you know that when you put one gear where it's not supposed to be, it causes a dysfunction in the engine. So when men don't play their part or are absent in their space, it causes a dysfunction. It's also said that a part played that reduces the effectiveness and productivity of a marriage is a dysfunction. Because God commanded them and said, be productive, be fruitful, and multiply. But we discover that roles that are played well, they create a deeper understanding between the two spouses. They create harmony and unity in the marriage. They increase the couple power and the intimacy and marital oneness. They create a sense of identity and belonging. So when you play your role well, there is this gelling together. There is this understanding. There is this connection. I've never demanded my wife to take my coat when I come in. But I can tell you there are many times I can come in and she just picks my jacket and tells me, would you like a cup of coffee, cup of tea? She will tell me that there's food ready. What time would you like us to eat? But yet she had 1,000,001 things to do during the day. So our relationship has become such that she comes in late and she was working somewhere and things were tough. She would find that I've done the same and I would do exactly what she did to me without even noticing, because we have come to understand that by me doing that, it doesn't mean I have I've come down from my role and done the woman's role. So causes of dysfunctions in most marriages, sometimes one, it will come through unmanaged, challenging work demands. You are away too much. Work means more. Priorities are wrong. You value other things more than the people at home. There is also role modeling. If you come from an environment where you have seen those dysfunctions and you don't correct them, then it's very easy to have that as a default. But when we come under the rulership of Christ, it's easy to deal with those dysfunctions because Christ becomes the head and the ruler of your life. There is also the lack of definition to the family unit. That can bring a dysfunction. The Bible says that we are spiritual beings made in the image of a spiritual God. And so I've always looked at my wife as my sister because we have one Father who is God. She has looked at me as my brother. And so I have treated her with that reverence because she's made in the image and likeness of God, and she has done the same. See, friends, without the standard of God's word, marriage loses its proper placing in society. We begin to use each other. So in my mother tongue, in my language, we call the woman, because without Christ, we have a name for a woman. We call her a cook. Literally, we call her a cook. In Mungai's mother tongue, they have a name for a woman. They call her the one who keeps quiet. There's another tribe, they call her the one who sits outside. See, the name defines the role. And therefore, she has no right to sit by me and ask anything unless I ask her and summon her into my presence. But when we now come under the rulership of Christ, it totally changes everything. Because Christ becomes the standard. Amen? Christ becomes the standard. Marriage, therefore, is a natural relationship to be lived out by humans in God's image in a fallen world. God expects that you conduct yourself as a man in such a way that you show the image of Christ through the way you relate with your wife. Why? Because marriage is symbolic to the relationship between Christ and the church. And the way I treat my wife, the way I relate to her is the same way the other part of the world, those who don't know Christ, can see the way Christ relates to the church. Marriage is a natural relationship symbolizing the relationship between Christ and the church. Husband and wife get their role definition, therefore, from Christ, from the Bible, and not from culture or society. So what does God say you are? And how then do you act out your role? He says, husbands, love. Wives were never in marriage asked to love their husbands. If you look at it, it says, husbands, love. And wives, submit. Now, let me tell you one thing here. And this is a main thing. So let me be vulnerable as a man and say something. Did you know that even sexually, the way God created you, if you performed your roles through love, the woman submits instantly. That is the truth. And that's how God did it. Women are broken down by love. They are melted by love. And that's why the man was commanded to be the lover. Did you know that a woman will be wet, will desire for a man, even when his man is miles away? Why? Because she feels the love, she feels the connection. And that's why for her, it begins with the mind and the feeling inside of a desire for connection, a feeling that this man is my everything. And that's why it gets into the place where it talks about Sarah calling Abraham, my Lord, almost in a worshipful manner, in a reverence manner. So what are some of these dysfunctions? One, the absent man. I'll go very quickly here because we don't have much time. When you look at the book of Genesis chapter 3, where do you think Adam was when Eve was tempted? Where do you think? You can shout it out. Where do you think he was?
He was right next to
Huh?
her. He was right next to her.
Was right next to her? Was asleep? Was having a game? Was hunting? Watching TV. Did you see here that the truth of the matter is that Adam was actually there when Eve was tempted. But who was given the instruction, do not eat? Adam. We don't see the Bible telling us that Eve was told by God, do not eat. But Eve had an idea of the Bible saying, do not eat. Do you think Adam told Eve? Most likely. Are we together? Most likely. But how could he be there? He understood the command and watched the wife be cheated by the enemy. It tells you many things. You seated by the TV, eating popcorn, watching game, and wife is saying something about son, and you didn't hear it. We still are absent men today. The wife is pouring down on you about the issues of the day, and you want to watch that game, and you're telling her, move there, woman. We'll talk about it another day. The truth of the matter is, she will get another man to download it too. And then you are the same one who will say, you go there talking to other women, to other men. What's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with her. She's just looking for love, which the man is absent, not giving it. When Ahab, this is a serious one. Ahab marries who? Jezebel. Marries Jezebel for economic purposes, an alliance of some kind. But anyway, Jezebel begins to influence because Ahab is not spiritually present. What happens is that Israel ends up worshiping foreign gods. Foreign gods are invited into Israel. Even a temple is built in honor. Where was Ahab? Ahab is even given the land that belongs to Naboth. And Ahab cannot even ask the wife, woman, how did you get this land? Did you kill Naboth? How could you kill Naboth? No, the man made available the stamp. Never even disputed. Took the land. Absent man. This didn't show leadership. Didn't even voice to say we cannot go this direction. Eli. God looks at Eli and he says, Eli, you loved your children more than me. You preferred them more than me. Eli's children were busy doing temple prostitution. Your son could be there playing with porn, and you as father, you're there. Wow. He was doing temple prostitution. And God says, you couldn't even discipline them. And so when God gets disappointed, you know what happened to Eli and his priesthood and his children. Second dysfunction is a domineering wife, manipulative wife. I think for me, when it comes to me having a domineering, because it could come with personalities and all, and we need to be alert. It could come in many ways, but if I have a domineering and manipulating wife, I have come to discover that men need to learn some intelligence. Can you say intelligence? Can you say intelligence? Come on, man, say intelligence. Now, this is the intelligence. There's what they call emotional intelligence. Do you know you could tame even the most difficult woman if you learn how to deal with her emotions? You don't react with her. She goes with her emotions and she wants to go this way. And see, for us men, we are quick to follow. They kick, we kick. They kick, we kick. They kick, we kick. The end product is, you woman, I don't want to see this over here. No. And then the woman comes with soprano voice. You cannot beat me. I can also do this to you. Now, the problem is, the Bible, not the Bible, people have said, don't argue with a fool because people will not notice the difference. But even so, do you know the neighbors will hear the soprano before they hear the bass? So when you think you're shouting your voice and taking control, do you know nobody's hearing you? They're hearing that soprano. So why not just learn some emotional intelligence and learn to know how to tame her, to bring her in? See, all Ahab needed to do with a manipulative Jezebel is for Ahab to be a man who first knew what are my values and what values do we live by in this house, and not allow the wife to come with her values and begin to impose them on the family. What are your family values? Are they values you have agreed upon, both of you? That one, it shall be respect. Talk with respect. We shall treat each other with respect. If it is faithfulness, we shall be faithful in money. If you get money from me, if I get money from you, we shall all be faithful. See, one of the things that I learned from my father was a spender. My father would spend money, top, all finished. My wife is from a family where they were almost like misers. They really don't spend much because they were afraid of the hunger of tomorrow. That's how they normally would say it. So I marry her, and I want to spend some money. She is thinking about how we need to save, and we began to fight. I felt that she was controlling me, and yet the money was mine. And so I'd learned some emotional intelligence, and I began to say, okay, honey, God taught me a very beautiful thing. I said, let me pay the bills because I love to spend. And what you have, let's leave it in the account for savings for tomorrow. And I felt very nice paying bills, writing checks and paying bills, because that fulfilled me. I felt fulfilled because that's what I learned from my father. See, the issue here is learn to use your emotional intelligence. The other one is the weak man. A weak man opens a door for purposeless living. If we have no target, if we have no aim, we will aim at anything. Management of one's life and home requires clear direction. Eli was a weak man. So was Ahab. They did not bring their leadership and control of their marriages in place. If you look at the message that Ahab makes, they are the result of weakness, spiritual weakness, and even physical weakness. Eli is weak in showing direction to his children. My son one time came to me and he said, Dad, I think I found a girl. And I said, whoa, you found a girl? That's great. And he said, so we are going to go to this dance, with the rest of the boys. I said, wow, that's even great. And the mother was just listening. So I said, before you go, he said, but Dad, I need 2,000. I need, it's like $20 here. I said, I need $20. I said, no problem, I'll give it to you. But I want to tell you how women and men dance. So you will be dancing the high ones and the big ones, and that's how you go. You make sure you really put in your best. So I taught my son how he'll go and dance. And then I told him, you know what? Then there will come the other soft one. And the women will come, and a lady will come, and they will bow. And they want you to give them a dance. And you will stand up, and she will come, and she will look like she's very weak, and she will fall on your shoulder. And you will have to squeeze her on yourself and hold her tight and begin to dance with her. Pulling her all over because she doesn't have so much strength. She's lying on you as you... So you have two things. One, you have a job of just making sure that you carry the weight. And two, you have the job of her breasts are on you. I became very open. Her breasts are on you, and her body is on you. You begin to feel all those things men feel. And I want to ask you, son, are you willing to go all the way? And I said to him, here is the money. The following day, he told me, Dad, after all, that thing is not important. I'm going to buy jeans with the money you gave me. Strong men must be, one, honest, and must teach with courage. You see, we hide our children too many things. And because we hide them, they find it from other people. And when they find it from other people, they find it the wrong way. So I made appointments with my sons. I would take them out one by one or both together. I would take my daughter out, me and her, and we would talk about these things. I think it's important when they know that But Dad told me this. I love you so much. Well, Dad also loves me. So what is different? What kind of love do you have that is different? Are you getting what I'm saying? Yes. Your children need to be confident in the love you show as a father. Because that is the basis of what they will define any other love that they get out there. There is the insecure wife. She's almost like this ship that is on the waves, not knowing when to stop. So insecure that pumps into you a lot of anxiety. But you know that I've discovered that responsibility, freedom with responsibility, is one of the best things to cure insecurity. So for my wife and I, instead of her feeling insecure in certain areas, I have walked with her and helped her get certain freedoms to which she's accountable for, and myself the same. I get certain freedoms which I'm accountable for, but within the parameters of what glorifies God within the relationship. So even now, I don't feel insecure that she has all the access to all the bank accounts we have. And some men tell me, how do you do that? In Kenya, some men don't understand why that should happen. But see, the truth is, that is how it is. And with that, she's been responsible, I have been responsible, and we are able to move together in that particular way to build each other. There is also another dysfunction of inaction. A man of inaction. This man never takes action. You tell them things. Honey, would you fix that tap? Yeah, I'll fix it. Honey, the tap is still going. Why are you bugging me, woman? I heard you. Yes, she heard you, but the tap is still leaking. Either you fix it or get somebody to fix it. Because that's what is bothering her. If you're too busy, find somebody. If you don't have the money, sit together, talk about it, say, hey, honey, you know what? It's just the money I don't have. And I need to go borrow some tools, and I've not had time to go borrow the tools. See, there's this inaction man that causes people to be irritant everywhere. Have you seen the boys' work? Have you been to the boys' school? Have you taken the children? Will you take the children? Will you be here? And it's just so inactive. So much a lack of action. It causes frustration, a lack of trust. It breeds confusion. Then there is also the frustrated wife. The frustrated wife is basically one who sees this man who doesn't take action, or this man who is always absent. And the only cure is for you to ask yourself, what is it that frustrates my spouse, my wife? What behaviors in me cause her to be frustrated? There are moments that me and my wife would put down on one list the things that are against us and the things that are for us. And we go through one by one to see how do we deal with each of them. I would suggest this, man. For those of you who are married, would you take at least one day in a week, or at the very worst, one day in 2 weeks, and do nothing but ask her, how can I be a better husband to you? Now, when you ask that question, please, I beg you by the mercies of God, be willing and ready to give time. Because they are going to talk. They are going to even tell you things you don't want to hear. But at least they have gotten it off their what? Their chest. And you can tell, honey, I don't know how to fix that. So, what do you think we should do? Can we pray about it? And I've seen that when a man admit that they can also fail, it's okay. It's okay. You're not less of a man if you fail. I have so many, I will not finish today. Let me finish with something that really happened between me and my wife. I told my wife, I feel like we could do a business. And so she said, really? Okay. So we went and started a business somewhere. And my wife told me, I don't feel you have the capacity to manage that business. I said, I have the capacity. I know I can do it. So I pushed and pushed and pushed. And my wife said, you know what? For the sake of the marriage, for the sake of the relationship, it's okay, you can go ahead. So we went ahead and it failed. What do you think she said? Several months later, I told her, honey, I feel God saying we need to move from this area to get a house on the other side. She said, I don't feel it. Honey, it's just not the right place for us to go. She gave me all the reasons. We talked about it for about 2.5 months. Finally, she said, you know what, honey? You are the leader. I need to submit. It's okay. We went. We came out of there, total failures, and lost everything. Then I had my wife talking to my boys. And he was saying this to my boys. Hey, you guys, be listening to your dad. Because your dad sometimes is very creative and God gives him some very good wisdom. I could not understand what my wife was referring to because in my head, I was a failure. I told her about a business and we failed and she still believed in me. I told her about moving house. I failed and she still believed in me. But she had so many other things that she saw in me that she told the kids, I believe in. Do you know that was my resurrection moment? Because from that day, I began to believe in myself. I had lost everything about me as a man. You know what, friend? We may never get all the ducks in a corner. We may never get everything just right. We may never just do everything the way it needs to be done. But it's not such a big failure and such a bad thing for you just to say, you know what? A man falls, but a man wakes up. So, honey, would you help me? I think when it comes to this thing, I'm not as good as you think I am. Would you help me? Would you help me that we walk together so that we may get this thing going? And where she is good, you empower her. And where you are good, you empower yourself. And that's how we have found victory even in the things that are very difficult for us as a couple. I pray that you will stand as a man. And I pray that you will provide that godly spiritual leadership that God desires in your marriage. And if you're not yet married and you're looking forward, may you be such a man that you'll be admired, following these principles and working hard to be the man that will be dependable in the future that God will give you. Amen, man.